don't understand men, because if I was a man, but if I was, I will be like so proud, like, look at my hot wife.
Right.
Look at her, and I'm gonna bang that tonight, bitches.
Okay, so let me help you with this friendly pie chart. Okay, I have it all laid out for you. Clearly, women do not know how men work. Not that complicated. I didn't think it was that complicated, but clearly people are not understanding. Let's start with this. Now, we have this chart. We have percentages. Now, let's understand you only really need about a 75% score. If you can score 75%, you're doing pretty good. And the guy's probably going to be pretty excited. Now, we have our cornerstone. Where is it at? Our cornerstone here. What do you look like? All right, that's 50%. That's 50% of the ball game. So, now, here's where you're in a little bit of trouble. If this part is a 0, right? If you don't qualify, if you don't fill out this 50%, the rest of this, I don't know if you noticed, this is another 50%. Right? This is 50, that's 50. So you need to fill out most of this. Now, this is hot, right? So this is attractive enough, right? This is the girl next door and up. It qualifies as 50, right? If you're brown bag situation, that's probably like a 30. Standards aren't nearly as high as you think they are. And all the stuff you do, the eyelashes and the shoes, nonsense. Let's move on to the other part of the chart. This is, every guy's, I suppose, a little different, depending if you have a dirt bag or not. But the first we have here is nice. Okay, that's 15%. And every other really one of these categories are about 15%. And if you noticed, one of the categories plus hot is 65%. You need a 70% to qualify. Right? This is how much we care about these things. You gotta look good. And then there's nice. You gotta be nice. At least a little bit. And if not, you got a lot of other work to do. The nicest is like the easiest part, I think, to do. Because it doesn't take a whole lot of effort. Right? And that's just nice to him. You don't really have to be nice to anybody else. You should. You should. And you shouldn't pick someone that isn't nice to anybody else. But just be nice to him. If you're nice all the time, in reality, you could get away with this 65. Really, you could get away with the 65. You don't have to hit the 70. Right? The chores, 15%. And this is any kind of chore. That doesn't mean you do every chore. This means you either keep the house clean and or cook and or do another chore. There's not a whole lot of other chores. Most of you guys aren't doing lawn work, let's be honest. All right? When's the last time when you did lawn work when you have a husband? So, to qualify for this 15%, cook and or clean. And again, it doesn't have to be made, right? But it has to satisfy wherever his bar is at. So if he can afford a maid, bitch, you better learn how to cook, all right? Because that chore bar is going to be higher to get to the 15%. Now, for a lot of guys, I don't know if 50% and 15% chores, I don't think that 65 is enough to qualify. I think you're going to need another at least 5% in any of these other categories. And again, not that hard to do, right? That's only this category and this category plus one, a little bit of the other one. Very easy. Interests. Now this depends on the guy. And again, a lot of these are pretty broad, right? So some guys, you don't have to have a lot of comedy. Just be nice. You know, you watch some dumb TV show. You talk about nothing all day. Some guys totally fine with that. Some guys are really into something, like the video gaming guys. Super nerdy guys. If you're a super nerdy chick, let me tell you right now, I don't think you need 65%. I think you could hit 30 here and 15 here, and was that 45? I think you could get away with the 45 if you're a super nerdy chick and you want a super nerdy guy. You know, I think that you could get away with that. I really do. So, luckily for you guys out there, if you're a nerdy chick, you're doing all right. If you want a nerdy guy, at least, you're doing pretty good. You could get away with that 45 score here. Ideally, you know, you want the whole pie, but 70 is a passing grade, with our two exceptions of super nice and super nerdy. Okay? This 5%, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if this ever happens, but if you're a chick and you're trying to be smart to impress a guy, or you think because you're super smart a guy's going to automatically like you, you might as well not worry about this fucking 4% right here. Don't even worry about that shit. That is like the last thing we look at. Like, and for some guys, you could take this 4% out of the pie chart altogether. You really, really could. You could take this 4% out of the pie chart altogether. You know, it's helpful. We would prefer all this and this, but we don't want the 4% and none of the other stuff. We don't even want the 50% and the 4%. Right? Especially, not necessarily if you're smarter than us, but if you're smarter than us and have a different interest. So, like, if the interest is also 0, that assumes that you're hot. Okay, let's say you're a supermodel. And you fill up this 4% bar. Okay, but you're hot, but we don't know what you're talking about. You might as well be talking about shoes if you don't fill up any of the 15% slot. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're super smart, but then we don't know what you're talking about. Alright, you might as well be talking about shoes. I don't know. Right? Now, let's talk about the wild card here. I put this at 1% because this is not actually 1%. This is a variable. Some of you out there, and we already know that this happens, if you fill up this 1%, for some of you, that's the only percent you need. So you got to decide. Now, this is the trick for you guys. You can score 50% and fill up this 1%. And if you're good enough at it, if you really filled up that 1%, you need 50%. That's it. And it doesn't have to be this 50%. It could be, well, I guess you kind of need all these other things, right? But come on. If you can do this the chores 15% and this 1%, you're in the game. You're in the game. You know? Yeah, I don't know how like sustainable that is. And again, guys, well, girls, really, if you're filling up the 4%, right, the smart 4% and the 1%, that's good, but we really would prefer any other category. All right, hope this helped you guys out.